reading. So we will continue from the point where we left last week. So okay, so we were reading the forward और प्राकथन जो है उसको पढ़ रहे थे. We had done half of it, so we'll begin from the point on, as you can see on the screen. I'll maybe start and then we can take turns in reading the things and explanation. तो समाधानात्मक भौतिकवाद मूलतः व्यवस्था केंद्रित अभिव्यक्ति संप्रेषणा है. यह अस्तित्व में पाए जाने वाली मनुष्येतर संपूर्ण प्रकृति का अध्ययन सहज निश्चय के आधार पर निर्भर है. इस प्रस्तुति के पहले अस्तित्व सहज वैभव को समझना एक आवश्यकता रही, इसकी आपूर्ति सहज संभव हो गई. तो पहली लाइन का मतलब जो मुझे समझ में आया है कि मूलतः समाधानात्मक भौतिकवाद व्यवस्था को केंद्र में रखकर जो है वो सारा कुछ अभिव्यक्त किया गया है, और जो ये मानव के अलावा जो बाकी सारी प्रकृति है उसका अध्ययन के आधार पर समाधानात्मक भौतिकवाद है. और इस प्रस्तुति के पहले मतलब मानव के मनुष्यतर प्रकृति को अध्ययन करने से पहले अस्तित्व का वैभव समझना, मतलब अस्तित्व का मूल स्वरूप क्या है ये समझना एक आवश्यकता रही है ना, और वो उसकी आपूर्ति अब संभव हो गई. मतलब उन्होंने जो अस्तित्व में अनुभव किया तो उससे वो संभव हो गया. So resolution centered materialism is fundamentally an orderliness centered expression which is based on natural certitude arising from the study of entire nature apart from humans. Prior to this presentation, understanding the natural grandeur of existence had been a necessity. Its fulfillment has now become naturally possible. ख्याल से सिंपल ही है ये वाला. तो anybody wants to make any observation, comments or suggestion on this? ठीक है, तो एक और पैराग्राफ में कर देता हूं. समाधान हर मानव में स्वीकृत है. इसे और भी विधि से कहा जाए तो सर्वतोमुखी समाधान सर्व मानव में स्वीकृत है. मनुष्यतर प्रकृति में आचरण प्रमाणित है ही. इसका नीति सूत्र है अस्तित्व में प्रत्येक एक अपने त्व सहित व्यवस्था में कार्यरत और समग्र व्यवस्था में भागीदारी संपन्न है. इस क्रम में मिट्टी, पत्थर, मणि, धातु, परमाणु, अणु रचित संपूर्ण पिंडों, किसी पिंड के सतह में पाए जाने वाले वनस्पति संसार, जीव संसार इसी सूत्र व्याख्या में प्रमाणित होते हैं. मानव में प्रमाणित होना शेष है. इसे अध्ययन गम्य कराने के लिए समाधानात्मक भौतिकवाद. तो पहले तो ये कह रहे हैं कि समाधान मतलब जो है वो हर मानव में स्वीकृत है. क्यों और कैसे का उत्तर होना चाहिए, ये चीज जो है हर मानव में अपेक्षा के रूप में तो स्वीकृत है ही. एवरीवन एक्सपेक्ट्स टू बी रिजॉल्व. तो दूसरे विधि से कहा जाए सर्वतोमुखी समाधान सर्व मानव में स्वीकृत है. इसमें लिखा है मनुष्यतर प्रकृति में आचरण जो है वो प्रमाणित है. आचरण का मतलब जो है उसका ऐसा जो क्रियाकलाप करता है जो कि निश्चित है ना, वो किस परिस्थिति में क्या उसका रिस्पॉन्स है ये एक्चुअली निश्चित है. तो मानव के अलावा बाकी प्रकृति में ये आचरण निश्चित है. चाहे पानी हो, मिट्टी हो, पत्थर हो, जीव संसार हो, वनस्पति संसार हो, इन सब के दे एग्जिबिट अ डेफिनेटिवनेस इन देयर कंडक्ट. तो उसका उन्होंने कहा कि बेसिक फॉर्मूला क्या है कि अस्तित्व में अपने प्रत्येक एक अपने त्व सहित व्यवस्था में कार्यरत और समग्र व्यवस्था में भागीदारी संपन्न. सो हर जो इकाई है उसका एक त्व होता है, जैसे कि उसका एक बेसिक डिफाइनिंग नेचर होता है, उसके साथ में वो व्यवस्था में रहता है। जैसे आम है तो उसका देर इज एन मैंगो नेस टू इट। अमरूद है तो देर इज अ मैंगो, देर इज अ गुआवा नेस टू इट। काऊ है तो देर इज अ काऊ नेस टू इट, सो देर इज अ डेफिनेट नेचर टू इट, जो उसका एक इंट्रिंसिक या इसेंशियल नेचर है। तो इसेंशियल नेचर जो है वो हर एक एंटिटी का एक आयाम रहता है। तो वो उसके साथ में वो व्यवस्था में कार्यरत है और समग्र व्यवस्था में भागीदारी संपन्न है, बाकी सारों के साथ में वो भागीदारी करता है। तो जो बाकी मिट्टी पत्थर हैं ये सब जो हैं इसी सूत्र व्याख्या में प्रमाणित होते हैं, मतलब इसी फॉर्मूला से वो प्रमाणित होते हैं। व्यवस्था का सूत्र बेसिकली ये है। मध्यस्थ दर्शन में जो बाबा जी बता रहे हैं कि व्यवस्था का सूत्र क्या है, तो यह है कि प्रत्येक एक अपने स्वसहित व्यवस्था है और समग्र व्यवस्था में भागीदार है। तो ये इस तरीके से हर इकाई जो है वो अपनी व्यवस्था के लिए एक्सटर्नली डिपेंडेंट नहीं है, उसमें एक अपने आप से उसका एक स्रोत, अपने आप में उसका एक ड्राइव मौजूद है। ये एक बेसिक प्रिंसिपल जो है वो ये बताया गया है। उसमें एक है कि बाकी सारी प्रकृति में तो ये एविडेंट है ही, मानव में प्रमाणित होना शेष है। मतलब मानव में ये चीज जो है, ह्यूमंस आर येट टू achieve their humaneness, and they will be in orderliness only when they achieve this humaneness। इसको अध्ययन गम्य कराने के लिए समाधानात्मक भौतिकवाद है। जस्ट रीड आउट द ट्रांसलेशन। Resolution is accepted in every human. In another way of saying it, the comprehensive resolution is accepted in all humans. Nature, apart from humans, already evidences orderliness in their conduct. The formula for this is each entity in existence is orderliness with its own ness and is a participant in overall orderliness. In this sequence, soil, stones, gems, metals, atoms, molecules, all bodies formed from molecules, the plant world found on the surface of any such body, and the animal world, all stand validated through this very formulation. Its validation in the human being still remains. In order to make this studyable, resolution-centered materialism is presented. So यहाँ over here, he is basically saying that there is a all the entities in nature, there is are exhibit orderliness, and there is a spontaneous orderliness in them. It's not a uh, they are not in order because of push and pull from external forces. There is certain inherentness in them which actually is the basis for their being orderly. Like for example, uh, a mango has a mango-ness, or a neem tree has a neem-ness, an oak tree has an oak-ness, and that actually with which it is orderly in its conduct is defined, and by which it participates orderliness it evidences orderliness in its conduct with all other entities of the nature. So this basically says that the orderliness or vyavastha of any entity is not dependent on forces external to it. There is an inherentness to it which actually is the basis for its orderliness. And they say that apart from human, this is already evident. In humans, this humaneness is something to be achieved. Only then they will be orderly. Till then, they will not be orderly. To make this humaneness studyable, this presentation of resolution-centered materialism is there. So any observation or comments on this are welcome.
Bhaiya, I was wondering that could it be that then we can say that each entity is uninfluenced by the other entity? Although as I'm saying it, many other images are coming, but ऐसा तो नहीं होता कि there are no influences. So there is an influence, but there is an inherentness at the same time, which will
Yes.
supersede the influence.
Right. तो दो चीजें हैं. There is one thing is called स्वभाव or intrinsicness to it, है ना? Or the essential nature. And second thing is that the influence of the other, जिसको हम गुण कहते हैं, परस्परता में प्रभाव, the effect of the mutuality. So both are the dimensions of a unit. Okay. But it is the orderliness of the unit is based on its essential nature, not of the not due to the effects of the other. The effects of the other is there, but the inherentness is still remains. For example, we actually meet lot of people, but we still carry our own nature with us.
Mm.
In the same way, every entity, a tree is there which has its inherent nature, but it has its effect. Its effect is the effect of its surroundings is also there on it. So there are four aspects of any entity of nature, which we call roop, gun, swabhav, or dharma. Right? Last session, you actually mentioned the word teleology, right?
Yeah.
So there are teleological dimensions to every entity, which are called dharma and swabhav. Teleology means what is the purpose of that,
Purpose. Yes.
right? So those actually are what define the entity, right? Based on which it is orderly. So there is an inherent essence of orderliness in every entity. So that actually mm, is the message here, that in humans they are yet to identify their essence of being, because they are entities of knowledge order. So they until they identify their uh, essence, they will not be orderly. Rest of the nature do not need to understand themselves in order to be orderly. They actually are, there is an intricate orderliness in it. Even in a cell, there are so many functions that actually work together, and there is an essential nature there is. But they are, as a tree or a plant or an animal is not aware of the design that it is actually having, the wonderful synchrony that is there in order to for all of it to work together. It is not aware of that, but still it has those dimensions in it. But in
Mm.
humans, they need to actually understand that order. They need to have the realization of that order in order to basically become orderly themselves and participate in the wonderful order, entire orderliness of this whole existence.
Mm. Got it. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Dev bhaiya, we want to read next.
Sure, we are. Okay. Uh, मानव में समाधान प्रमाणित होने की संभावना है। मानव तभी समझदार हो पाता है जब अस्तित्व, जीवन और मानवीयतापूर्ण आचरण अच्छे से समझ में आ जाए। यह आएगा कहाँ से? मानव से ही। मानव के लिए सुलभ होना नित्य सहज है। इसी विधि से यह प्रस्तुत हुआ है। Humans have the possibility of evidencing resolution. A human becomes wise only when existence, जीवन, and humane conduct is understood thoroughly. Where will it come from? The resolution can become eternally accessible for humans only from humans. This is the way this has been presented here. I
जी
think this is pretty much the line that you said uh, in the end of the previous conversation, actually.
जी भैया
They will, I mean, humans will become the part of order when they understand the order and orderliness, basically.
right. So if we look at it, darshan with its all vastness to it, this is the essence that rest of the nature is already orderly, and there is an essential nature dimension to it. Okay. Apart from the dimension that is that basically appears to us through our senses, there is an aspect to them which can only be understood. It is not something visually apparent. By in visual sense, we will actually only see certain traits of it. But in understanding, we actually can understand it completely. Right. So we see that there are actually certain empirically uh, or physically observable aspects of reality, and there are actually certain aspects of reality which are not empirically observable but actually are understood. Like, for example, happiness is not empirically observable. It is something that is realized and understood, right? So we need, so what this darshan actually talks about is resolution centered materialism. That it says that yes, materialism will be there because we are going to be dealing with matter, but this materialism needs to be rooted in resolution, right? So in some senses, what Babaji seems to be doing is to making us become free from the guilt that we carry in our use of material things. So he actually establishes prosperity as a justified goal of human to actually lead an abundant life in the material sense also is an important aspect of a human expression. So humans are, so he was not a minimalist person. Okay. It's that it is possible to lead a life of abundance without being wasteful and vain. So that is what is this presentation of resolution centered materialism is about. That when we actually appreciate the order or the orderliness in the rest of the nature, and also the orderliness that is there as part of us, we can actually lead a life that is actually uh, full in the true sense. It is resolved as well as prosperous, right? So in many in especially in Indian spiritual traditions, material world has been looked at with disdain, with the thing that it is basically associated with attachment, associated with greed, and all the rest of it. But here it is being said is that this world is actually, there is nothing wrong in this world. This nature actually is orderly, and it is possible to relate to it and have be prosperous in a justified manner as well. Right? So that is the basic idea that we are trying to understand.
I guess my last line where it says the resolution can become eternally accessible for humans only from humans. Now, this is referring to education, right?
Yes.
But Baba actually saw things not through education, but on his own.
Yeah, his process was not through education.
Hmm.
So he's basically not advocating that process. Says that natural process of humans are to become resolved from one another.
Hmm.
So he only got the inspiration and blessing from his guru for doing sadhana. And that, and in somewhere he held that what his guruji is saying is correct. And
Hmm.
his inquiry is a justified inquiry. So with if we had a any shade of doubt in his resolve, he couldn't have actually come for sadhana
Hmm.
in 1950, right? Leaving the family and all the rest of it and coming to a jungle, right? So he actually held that what Chandrasekhar Bharti Maharaj and Raman Maharshi Maharaj is saying with authenticity. So it was with that absolute faith that he came. So over there also there was a some sort of a guidance
Hmm.
and um, uh, you can say whether that guidance was not in the form of evidence, but it was there in the form of assurance that you go ahead, it will be there. He didn't ask them whether you yourself have gyan or you yourself have understood or not, right?
Yeah. So it's not that that road is blocked. It's just that the natural way for human beings is to understand through the process of education, and even in his case, in the form of guidance that education was available.
Yeah, in the form of guidance, basically in the form of because they guided him the path of samadhi and which he accepted. He said, I became successful in this endeavor. That's why I can say that this is correct and I am grateful for that. If I had not become successful, then it wouldn't have meant anything.
Yeah, and also I'm discounting the fact that he grew up in a certain environment that is also part of education, which became the baseline for him to
Definitely.
have the query. Yeah.
Right. So, so,
Yes.
so the tradition has brought humankind to a certain level, or humankind has actually reached a certain level. And after that, it has reached out for certain additional understanding which was missing in the tradition. So what Babaji is saying is that tradition has brought us to a certain extent, but not further. So he is grateful for that, what with what the tradition has done, and then has made some new contributions to the tradition.
Thank you.
Do you want to read next?
Should I read? It's okay.
हाँ, हिंदी वाला पढ़ लीजिए, समाधान का तात्पर्य।
Okay. समाधान का तात्पर्य क्यों और कैसे के उत्तर के रूप में है। मानव व्यवहार में संपूर्ण समाधान नियम, नियंत्रण, संतुलन, न्याय और धर्म सार्वभौम व्यवस्था के रूप में परम सत्य रूपी सह अस्तित्व ही होना पाया गया है। यह नित्य समीचीन है। समीचीनता का अर्थ सबको सर्वदा सुलभ एवं समीपस्थ होने से है। समीपस्थता यह सह अस्तित्व विधि से प्रमाणित है। सह अस्तित्व एक दूसरे के साथ होने के अर्थ को प्रतिपादित करता है। यह व्यापक वस्तु में संपृक्त अनंत एक एक वस्तु की हैसियत से पता लगता है। इसे अध्ययन करने की संपूर्ण प्रक्रिया सहित यह समाधानात्मक भौतिकवाद प्रस्तुत हुआ है। I'll stop at the Hindi, or should I read the English one as well?
हाँ, एक बार हिंदी वाला पढ़ समझ लेते हैं।
ठीक है।
सो ये तो क्लियर है कि समाधान का मतलब क्या है, क्यों और कैसे का उत्तर। तो इसके बाद ये बताए मानव व्यवहार में संपूर्ण समाधान नियम, नियंत्रण, संतुलन, न्याय, धर्म और सत्य के रूप में होना पाया जाता है। तो बाबा जी जो है, जो पूरा जो समझदारी है उसको ये 6 पॉइंट्स में रखते हैं: नियम, नियंत्रण, संतुलन, न्याय, धर्म और सत्य। तो इसमें से जो न्याय, धर्म और सत्य जो है वो मानव में प्रमाणित होता है। नियम, नियंत्रण, संतुलन जो है वो मनुष्यतर प्रकृति या मानव के अलावा जो बाकी नेचर है उसमें एविडेंट है। और ये हमेशा मतलब समीचीन, मतलब हम इट्स ऑलवेज देयर, मतलब ऐसा नहीं है ये कभी दूर था। ये हमेशा ऐसा ही है, ऐसा ही था और ऐसा ही रहेगा। तो ये समीचीनता का मतलब है। इसका दूसरा अर्थ है कि ये हमेशा सहअस्तित्व विधि से ये प्रमाणित है। सहअस्तित्व जो है ये एक दूसरे के साथ होने को अर्थ को प्रतिपादित करता है। तो सहअस्तित्व का एक मतलब तो है कि व्यापक वस्तु और प्रकृति ये दोनों एक साथ साथ हैं, इनको अलग नहीं किया जा सकता, इनका सहअस्तित्व बना हुआ है ना? इकाई व्यापक से अलग नहीं हो सकती। व्यापक के बिना इकाई में ऊर्जा का कोई आधार नहीं है, और इकाई के बिना व्यापक का कोई प्रकाशित कर नहीं कर सकता। तो इस तरीके से इन दोनों का सहअस्तित्व है। फिर उसके बाद में इकाइयों के बीच में भी सहअस्तित्व है, दोनों इकाइयां एक दूसरे के साथ होती हैं। तो ये बेसिकली ये इसी लाइन को लिखा है कि सहअस्तित्व जो है व्यापक वस्तु में संपृक्त अनंत एक एक वस्तु के हैसियत से पता लगता है। मतलब सहअस्तित्व का जो मूल रूप है वो व्यापक में संपृक्तता है, और उसका फल रूप जो है वो इकाइयों के साथ साथ होने, व्यवस्था में होने के रूप में वो मैनिफेस्टेड है। तो इसको अध्ययन करने की पूरी प्रक्रिया सहित ये समाधानात्मक भौतिकवाद प्रस्तुत हुआ है। यानी हिंदी में अगर कोई दिक्कत हो रहा हो तो उसको देख लेते हैं पहले। जी दीदी, यू कैन रीड इट इन इंग्लिश नाउ।
Yeah. The meaning of
Sorry,
resolution
sorry,
is
sorry, sorry. I was just trying to raise my hand. ये समीपस्था समीपस्थे what is this? मतलब ये पहली बार मैं पढ़ रही हूँ. Is this a common word भैया? Like समीपस्थ.
थोड़ा मतलब समीपस्थ मतलब समीप में स्थित होना,
Okay.
पास में होना।
Okay भैया, thank you.
the meaning of resolution is in the form of answers of why and how. The entire resolution in human behavior as law, regulation, balance, justice, and dharma, which is universal orderliness, is the manifestation of coexistence as the ultimate truth. It is eternally Ubiquitous. Am I reading it right? I've not heard this word.
Yeah, ubiquitous का मतलब, ubiquitous means it is something which is always there, everywhere, you know.
Okay. Okay.
It is very common, which is um, yeah, that's what it means.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ubiquitous means it is always available and close to all. Closeness is evident through coexistence. The meaning of coexistence is to be with one another. This is inherent to the infinite units in the omnipresence. Resolution centered materialism has been presented along with the entire method of studying this. In other words, existence itself is manifest in the form of coexistence.
I have translated this line along with ये दूसरी विधि से अस्तित्व ही सहअस्तित्व रूप में. Yes, I actually added it as part of this paragraph. I'll just do that. Okay. So I think mm, this is the meaning of resolution is having the answers, right? So humans are not meant to live with questions and doubt. And one of the things that Tavaji used to say is that he wants to uh, make this earth devoid of questions. So he says that the question is a state of confusion. And question is not something, uh, is not a good state. One wants answers to the questions. So he says that the meaning of resolution is in the form of answers of why and how. So this actually is also our present education system normally talks of that we begin with questions, and somewhere we have actually uh, given lot of importance to questions and have linked intelligence with questions itself. So what Babaji used to say is that intelligence is not in questions. Intelligence is in answer and in living with that answer, which is which actually is quite a sensible thing to say. The question doesn't have intelligence. Question is lack of intelligence. Intelligence is in the answer and in our living it. So resolution is to have the answers of why and how and in living it. The entire resolution in human behavior as law, regulation, balance, justice, and dharma is the manifestation of coexistence as the ultimate truth. So the realization of based on the realization in coexistence, one actually achieves the state of resolution. Then he says that coexistence is everywhere. It is not something which you need to search for. Don't need to actually go somewhere uh, or seek for it. He says that it is everywhere. It is eternally ubiquitous. It's not never. There was never a time or a place where coexistence was not. So it is always available and close to all. And he says that meaning of coexistence is to be with one another. In one of the discussions, he said that the loneliness is our denial of coexistence. When we feel that we feel alone when we actually deny coexistence. So this is so meaning of coexistence is inherent to infinite units of in omnipresence, resolution-centered materialism has been presented along with the method of studying this. So, in other words, existence itself is manifest in the form of coexistence. This the whole existence is actually manifest as coexistence. So if we look at it, that our body uh, actually is in coexistence with its surroundings. We are breathing the air in which all other living beings are also breathing. So the air in which we breathe is common to us. The matter that actually our body is composed of is the same matter that composes the trees, the soil, and the rest of it. So there is a matter that actually is coming into our body and going out of our body. There is a coexistence over there. Our body's design itself is in coexistence with its surrounding. Then the conscious aspect or the jivan that is there is also, even though it is not, does not bond with the material nature, it cannot manifest itself without it. So jivan for its development, for its understanding, needs the body, and to manifest its understanding, it needs the body. So in that sense, coexistence is in the very fabric of existence. We are, we cannot actually do without it. We are not. So existence is coexistence is something which is the basic fundamental of uh, this darshan. That everything that is there is in coexistence with everything else. Having said that, coexistence does not mean that uh, there is no essential nature of everything. चीजों में स्वभाव भी है. There is entities have their own identity also. There is what we discussed in the previous paragraph, that each entity is orderly with its ness. So there is coexistence along with certain essential nature also. So both these things are basically there. If we look at the in approach of materialism, was actually looking at independence from the rest of the nature. And also, if we look at the approach of spiritualism, it seemed to be saying that dissolving the self in certain absolute self. Both these approaches actually, in some senses, denied the existence of other and coexistence with them. So while the absolute being is there, uh, coexistence with all other beings is also there. Observations and comments on this.
I have a question, Bhaiya, about this being questions free and the present education system, which we use intelligence. It connects intelligence to asking questions. If I imagine that every human being is resolved and there are newer education ways, what we consider curiosity in today's time, what would it be? There would be no room for curiosity, or the curiosity would be about understanding the root gun aspect of a thing or in a situation to understand how it manifests. But fundamentally, all curiosities would be in place. If I try and imagine, I am not able to imagine because curiosity is so beautiful because it leads you to inquire and ask and observe, and all those things come along with it.
So one thing is that what is the state what we want to actually get to?
Hmm.
Uh, what is our so it's important to actually have that state, visualization of that state. What is the state which we uh, want to achieve? सो जिसको अखंड समाज सार्वभौम व्यवस्था कह रहे हैं, जिसको हम दिव्य मानवीयता की परंपरा कह रहे हैं, जिसको हम समझदारी जागृति की परंपरा कह रहे हैं,
Hmm.
what is that state? So in that state there is no questions related to meaning of life and
Hmm.
purpose of life. Those answers are there.
Hmm.
So you are actually having answers to that. So what is the place for curiosity and diversity in there? So
Hmm.
how to evidence this understanding? So that so humans are not machines. They will actually keep improving in the way they evidence the understanding. So understanding will be rooted. There will not be any change in the understanding because the reality is also unchanging. That is the truth. And truth by definition is eternal, unchanging. So coexistence is the way reality is. So if when one achieves the realization in coexistence, that realization has its continuity.
Hmm.
So so one becomes assured of that mm, understanding. Now the curiosity becomes how to actually make this evident. So in our व्यवस्था में भागीदारी के रूप में, in our participation of in the systems, in our way we actually manifest this understanding, in the way we bring this into our culture, in our civilization, that is where the curiosity and the novelty will be there. Yeah.
Hmm.
So having the confusion is not a good state.
Hmm.
So when Babaji is saying that having an earth without questions, he is actually saying that humankind being clear about the what you call the teleological dimensions of
Hmm.
existence.
एक बहुत स्थूल सा एग्जाम्पल आ रहा है, and I just want to bring it out just to understand that I've got it right. It's like I understand food and I know the principles of food making. So the curiosity would not anymore about what food is, but it would be about how to create it so it is for the benefit of everybody and it nourishes even more efficiently.
इस तरह से सोच सकते हैं. We can say that it's the curiosity is not about what nourishment is,
Hmm.
right? Curiosity is not about how to ensure that every family to be prosperous. The
Hmm.
curiosity is not about human goal, but
Hmm.
curiosity is at how can this state be with everyone? How can this be done even in a more efficient fashion, in a more artistic fashion, and things like that.
Hmm. Thank you.
Shilpa Didi, you were saying something?
Yeah, Bhaiya. So I found this question very interesting by Renu Didi. So I just wanted to add कि like I mean you can correct me कि जैसे जीवन को हम कहते हैं अक्षय बल अक्षय शक्ति. So it is basically inexhaustible. So it is not a
Hmm.
stable state. So like when we are saying that curiosity,
It is not a.
it's not stable, right? It is not stable. It is inexhaustible, which means it is constantly evolving or constantly growing. So अभ्यास रहता ही है मतलब ना it is continuous. So that's
Well,
why like
inexhaustible doesn't mean unstable or evolving. Inexhaustible means that it is like, for example, uh, a thing made of iron is there. After some time, it becomes rusted, right? You make a house, then after a certain time, it requires certain repair. Hmm. And a tree, it grows to an extent, and after an age it dies, right? So when inexhaustive, it means that this its constitution does not change, its capacity of performing its activities does not change. Like, for example, we have we have the inexhaustible capacity to hope, to think, to desire, to understand and realize. It does not diminish, right? From the childhood, even when a person becomes 80, 90 years old, the conscious faculties do not diminish. In that sense, it is inexhaustible.
yeah, Bhaiya, that is exactly what I meant actually, that we constantly
Okay.
to evolve and grow and, find out more. So curiosity may not it's not agyan, but like it is, we want to make things better, like we have a car now with gears, so we have come up with an automatic car. But the main thing is like the fuel is not, with coexistence. So it is very harmful for the environment. So we are constantly like, on a path to evolve to further grow is what I was getting at. Matlab,
Mm-hmm.
so what I mean is ki like I mean when there will be samadhan on planet Earth, but there will still be that thing to evolve and to continuously do new experimentations on how to get better at things.
Yes, that part will always continue. That part will always continue. Yeah. So, who would like to take next? Read next.
Oh, yeah, I can read.
जी भैया.
Yes. From this sentence, सहस्तित्व. यहाँ से पढ़ना है भैया.
हाँ भैया, सहअस्तित्व का
ठीक
मूल आशय.
ठीक ठीक है. ठीक. सह अस्तित्व का मूल आशय व्यापक वस्तु में एक एक रूपी अनंत वस्तुओं की अविभाज्यता ही है. हर एक वस्तु जड़ चैतन्य के रूप में प्रमाणित है. प्रत्येक मानव जड़ चैतन्य का संयुक्त साकार रूप है. इस वाङ्मय में परमाणु विकसित होने, जीवन पद प्रतिष्ठा में वैभवित होने का अध्ययन है. गर्भाशय में मनुष्य शरीर की रचना भी प्राण कोशाओं से रचित होना स्पष्ट हो चुकी है. फलस्वरूप जीवन सहज जागृति पूर्वक अस्तित्व समझ में आने, अस्तित्व सह अस्तित्व विकास जागृति रासायनिक भौतिक रचना विरचना की क्रम विधि सहज प्रयोजन इस वाङ्मय से संपन्न होने का आशय है। इन
बढ़िया।
अनदर वे Okay. In another way of presenting it, existence itself is grandeur in the form of coexistence. The fundamental meaning of coexistence is the inseparability of the infinite individual entities within the omnipresent realities. Each entity is manifest as insentient or sentient. Each human is a joint form of insentient and sentient. The study of an atom's development and its grandeur in the sentient status is done in this book itself. The human body composed of cells gets formed in the womb. This book intends to study the purpose of existence, coexistence, development, awakening, and the physiochemical composition, decomposition.
जी।
So basically, there is an indication about that inseparability of the infinite individual entities and the omnipresent. And the entities are in the form of insentient and sentient. And here the main emphasis has been given in this book about the sentient status, which
जी।
is done. Yes, this is the main idea which I get from this paragraph. Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah,
Okay.
basically that is the main thing is first realization that uh, first clarity that darshan brings to us is that we are not just bodies, we are not just uh, physico-chemical compositions, blood, bones, meat. There is more to us than a physical aspect, and there is a sentient aspect to us, which is the self, right? And which is immortal, and which actually is the defining aspect of us. And then we come to the understanding of the nature of this self and what its fulfillment is from. We actually realize that understanding the whole existence in the form of coexistence itself leads to this self's fulfillment, and then manifesting that understanding in the form of humane conduct is its goal. So that is the basic message of this book. The starting point of the understanding is to actually uh, accept the what we already have some sort of a glimpse that we are not just bodies. Now it starts with the thing, yes, you are not just a body, you are a combined form of body and a conscious entity or the sentient entity, right? So that is the starting point of this darshan. So he says that each entity is manifest as insentient or sentient. So nature that is there is either sentient or insentient, and human being is a joint form of insentient and sentient. So here he talks about the study of development in atom and its grandeur in the sentient status. The jivan or the conscious reality is actually defined in the form of an atom. So jivan is understood in the form of an atom. Okay, so which is constitutionally complete atom or Gathanpurn Parmanu. So this is a new discovery of this darshan, which is not there in the erstwhile traditions. Right. So that has been defined that basically what is the connection between matter and the physico-chemical matter and the sentient. So and then after that, what is the connection between the sentient reality, that is self, and the supreme self, or the Paramatma, which is the omnipresent reality. So that is the basic, the three realities that we talk about here: Jad, Chaitanya, or Vyapak, right? So, and their interrelationships is what we actually understand in this book. So this kind of completes the forward of this book. We can rush past the table of contents and come to the first chapter, which is called Samadhan or Dvand, resolution and conflict or duality. I think I would, instead of conflict, I'll call it duality. That's what I have used the word for. Okay. Shilpa Didi, you want to read?
Yeah, yes, भैया. अध्याय 1, चैप्टर 1, समाधान और द्वंद्व, रेजोल्यूशन एंड ड्युअलिटी. समाधानात्मक भौतिकवाद के नाम से मानव में अनेक प्रश्न उभरना स्वाभाविक है. जब से मानव सुनने सुनाने योग्य हुआ, तब से भय और प्रलोभन वर्ष ईश्वरवादिता क्रम में से ईश्वर को श्रेष्ठ तथा जीव जगत का कर्ता भरता हरता मानता ही आया. कुछ समय बाद भौतिकता का नाम आया. तब से भौतिकवादी भौतिकता को अपने में द्वंद्व ही बताते आए हैं. द्वंद्व बताने वाले अपने को अत्यधिक वैज्ञानिक मान लिए हैं. विज्ञान को विविध अध्ययन मानते हैं. विज्ञान को विधिवत अध्ययन मानते हैं. विधिवत अध्ययन का सार तर्क संगत होने से है. इस विधि से अथवा उपक्रमों से मानव ने भौतिक संसार में संघर्ष विधि से विकास को माना, जबकि आदर्शवादियों ने जगत को ईश्वर की कृपा से उत्पन्न मान लिया. The title Resolution Centered Materialism naturally raises many questions in the minds of people. Ever since humans became capable of articulating themselves due to fear and temptation, in the course of idealism, they have kept believing in God as the supreme being, creator, sustainer, and destroyer of the universe. When materialism later came into prominence, materialists began to argue that duality is inherent in matter itself. Those who advocate for duality consider themselves to be very scientific. They believe that science is systematic study, essentially because it is logical. In this way, materialists believe that development happens by way of struggle, whereas idealists believe that the world was created by God's grace. Yeah, so the author is setting the first the tone for the chapter. So resolution and uh, and he says that resolution centered materialism, which is the title of the book. So it raises many questions, like we want to know what it is about. So then he takes us back into history and says that there have been two courses. One is materialism. I mean, before it was spiritualism, and then came materialism. So in spiritualism, it was that God has created this world. And in materialism, they thought that they are like very logical and scientific. So they thought, I mean, they advocated for duality, and and they said they thought it to be very justified and scientific. So because it is a systematic study, like they believe that science is a systematic study. And so this is, so he's saying that there have been these two courses in the history so far, is how I understood this paragraph.
जी
Yeah.
जी बिल्कुल. It is actually setting the context, and what Babaji is saying is that what we have in the mm, uh, in for the study of materialism, what we have is dialectical materialism, where we say that the nature duality is part of the nature. It is inherent to the nature. Always there are two sides of the things, and they are in conflict or contradiction with one another. And that is how basically it is there in every part of every manifestation of nature, including human being, right? So there is a good part of us, there is an evil part of us. There is an so there are actually oppositions, contradictions between them, and that is how basically it grows uh, to the next state. So while Babaji actually is saying that the contradiction is not the only reality, there is a mediating or madhyasth reality also. And that actually is the basic nature of things, not the conflict, right? So conflict is not the primary aspect of nature. It is the secondary aspect of nature. The mediating or the madhyasth aspect is what is the defining aspect of nature, which is the basis of its orderliness. So he says that uh, so the name resolution centered materialism, it actually itself creates many questions, because materialism and resolution, they seem to be uh, two words which are in contradiction themselves, right? So he says that ever since जब से मानव सुनने सुनाने योग्य हुआ, so I understood that when the humans became capable of articulating themselves, when they because when the first humans first came, they did not even have language. they were they actually learned to first communicate among themselves. And uh, when that actually happened, when the language actually developed in its elementary form, they say there was a cognitive revolution that happened, and that actually resulted into very fast progress in humankind, right? So, so what Babaji seems to be saying is that uh, there is another cognitive revolution is needed in humankind, the way that happened at the time of discovery of language. So we have actually built on uh, those things about recognition of senses, recognition of instincts. That is how, that is our present level of understanding, so to say, and that is the only basis with which we have actually understood this nature. He says that there are actually certain other dimensions to our self, which if we uncover, then it is possible to actually uh, realize our true potential. So he says that we are actually living at only part of our potential, with which we are only able to address the mechanistic part of living. There is an additional aspect of ourselves which is yet to get uncovered, which is yet to manifest itself. So that is what is being actually proposed here. So it says that uh, people who actually defined the materialist actually said that duality is inherent in matter, and then they went into details of that. They went into advocating, they went further in advocating of this duality, and science also became the basis of their argument. So science, whatever discoveries that science did, it only basically furthered that mm, duality argument. So, so those who advocate for duality consider themselves to be very scientific. And they believe that science is the systematic study, essentially because it is logical. So what Babaji used to say is that being logical is a good thing, but logic without the purpose is actually has no, it doesn't have the end. So it is important to actually first fix the end. That is the purpose. He says we need to fix the purpose. So while the aspect about uh, logic and doing the systematic study is all right, but add to that the purpose, then it becomes complete. In the absence of purpose, the logic actually is directionless. So, so here, uh, yeah. Shilpa Didi, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you to repeat this in Hindi, like the way Babaji would have said it, if you can. जो आपने
कौन सा वाला दीदी?
ये जो आप बोल रहे हैं ना कि being logical is good, but like there needs to be a purpose and an end. आप इसको अगर हिंदी में रिपीट कर दें एक बार.
हाँ, जैसे मतलब तर्क जो है ना, वो अपने आप में एक प्रोग्रेस है। मतलब विज्ञान ने जो तर्क लेकर आया, पहले जो है उससे पहले केवल करो नहीं करो के रूप में देयर वर एक्चुअली इन दैट फॉर्म, it was like do this, don't do this, right? But there was no understanding in that. So logic actually brought the questioning aspect of it. He says that being logical, लॉजिक इज गुड है ना, तर्क अपने में अच्छा है, लेकिन तर्क अपने में पर्याप्त नहीं है। प्रयोजन के साथ में तर्क को जोड़ने की आवश्यकता है। प्रयोजन के बिना जो तर्क है वो एक्चुअली दो धारी तलवार जैसा होता है। इट्स लाइक इट कट्स यू बोथ वेज, है ना। तो यू एक्चुअली एंड अप कटिंग योर सेल्फ। तो उस तरीके से है, तर्क को हमें प्रयोजन के साथ में जोड़ते हैं। तो जैसे हम किसी भी समझ है ना, कोई भी तर्क करेंगे तो किस लिए, ये मानव के शुभ के लिए, सर्व शुभ के लिए, इसको पहले फिक्स करना होगा। अदरवाइज तर्क तर्क के लिए हो जाता है। नहीं। तो जैसे आदर्शवाद में ईश्वर की भक्ति और मोक्ष वो एक्चुअली लक्ष्य के रूप में स्वीकारा गया, प्रयोजन को वहां पर रखा गया। साइंस में प्रयोजन को नहीं रखा गया, केवल तर्क को रखा गया। यहाँ पर कह रहे हैं कि प्रयोजन जो है वो सर्वशुभ है, अखंड समाज सार्वभौम व्यवस्था है। अब इसके लिए हमको तर्क करने की आवश्यकता है ना। इस इसको तो नाउ द लॉजिक एक्चुअली गेट्स इट्स प्लेसमेंट। So humans have the tool of logic. This tool needs to be sharp. This tool needs to be effective. But this tool needs to be in good hands. It needs to be with the understanding of purpose. Only then this tool can be utilized effectively. जी। So देव भैया।
No, we please complete first.
Yeah, for this paragraph we are done. Yeah, anything to say?
Actually, I just wanted to add something here, especially looking at
Mm-hmm.
the first line. It says naturally raises many questions. Uh, so this is pretty much that was being discussed earlier as well. About curiosity and asking questions. So once again, the book itself, uh, you know, mentions it as natural. Uh, and then you very nicely explained earlier and quoted a word state. I just simply wanted to add a
Mm-hmm.
word stage as well. I think it's not only to utilize the principles in a creative way or present a praman to those, but also to discover the principles, the basis. So I think the most curiosities actually lead to inventions, but then there are some that lead to discoveries. I think it depends on the stage we are at. uh,
Hmm.
it's like even Babaji had questions and was curious, that actually led him to a certain journey.
Hmm.
And I believe, I am on a certain journey, that's why I'm curious, and I'm not
Hmm.
settled around certain questions when it comes to human understanding and orderliness. When it settles, that's where the only curiosity would be probably around, you know creativity. uh,
Hmm.
for example, if I know the principle of, let's say, something like em equals to mc square, or Archimedes principles, so that's settled. But then, after that, it's all creativity,
Hmm.
presenting a praman to that principle.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
think so both are important. It
Hmm.
depends on the stage that we are at. That's
Right.
what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So the stage of adhyan, or the stage of discovery, or the stage of exploration, is where one has the questions, right? That I
Yes.
do not know, right? And I want to know, right? So also the word question also needs to be deliberated a little more. When when the when the source of answer is available in the tradition, it's not that one has questions. Okay, question is then the source of answer is not available, and one is only left with question, which was actually the condition of Babaji when he started. The tradition from which he came from did not have the answers the questions that he was asking. If we have the education is providing the answers to the questions that arise in the thing, so we can't say that humankind collectively has questions, unanswered questions about the purpose, about the meaning. So the thing is that right now humankind in its present situation is unresolved. It is actually grappling about what is their purpose of being in this on this earth. How this earth can live in orderliness. How can there be peace in this world? We are actually destroying each other. We are warring with one another and don't see any purpose and direction from the people who are in the position of leadership. So that is the situation in which we are actually having questions. But if the tradition has the answers for that, and the education actually is able to provide those answers, then collectively we won't say that humankind is actually grappling with questions on meaning.
जी भैया.
Ganesh Bhaiya?
Yes, Bhaiya, what I gather from the whole discussion is the science is saying that struggle is an essence for survival, or the struggle is the result of the new creations. Whereas I think what the Babaji is indicating, it is the natural coexistence. It's not the struggle. So I hope this will be the ultimate result of the book, and it will be explained in a beautiful way. But I think it is the struggle is being replaced by the coexistence. That what I feel or what I think could be the Samadhanatmak, Bhautikvad, or the resolution center materialism. Yes, Bhaiya, only this thing I wanted to say.
Ji Bhaiya. So who would like to read next?
I think we can split, like someone can read in Hindi and maybe Spencer Bhai can.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll be glad to read the English.
I can do the Hindi. You want
जी
me?
भैया
जी।
प्लीज.
हाँ। द्वंद्व कहने के मूल में यहीं से ही पढ़ना है ना भैया?
जी।
द्वंद्व कहने के मूल में अंतर विरोध और बाह्य विरोध नामक दो बातों की स्वीकारते हुए अंतर विरोध को विकास का आधार बताया गया। बाह्य विरोध को संघर्ष पूर्वक स्व वैभव अथवा स्वयं की ताकत को प्रदर्शित करने का आधार बताया गया, जबकि वास्तविकताओं का परिशीलन करने पर इसके विपरीत तथ्य उभर आए। जैसे
भैया इसमें आप ना हिंदी वाले सारे पढ़ दीजिए।
पढ़ लेता हूँ, ठीक है भैया, ठीक है, मेक सेंस। पहला, प्रत्येक एक अपने वातावरण सहित संपूर्ण है। दूसरा, प्रत्येक एक अपने त्व सहित व्यवस्था है और समग्र व्यवस्था में भागीदार है। तीसरा, प्रत्येक एक अपनी स्वभाव गति में विकास की ओर और आवेशित गति में ह्रास की ओर गतिशील होता है। चौथा, परस्पर नैसर्गिकता में ही आवेशित गति और स्वभाव गति का होना स्पष्टतः पाया जाता है।
यहाँ तक पढ़ते हैं हम, है ना?
ओवर टू यू स्पेंसर भैया। हाँ।
Thank you. So, the foundation of duality theory rests on the acceptance of internal and external contradictions. Internal contradictions are considered the basis of development, whereas external contradictions are viewed as a means of demonstrating one's own greatness or power through struggle. However, thorough examination of reality reveals contrary facts. For example, 1. Each unit is a whole along with its environment. 2. Each unit is orderliness with its ness and participates in overall orderliness. 3. Each unit moves towards development in its natural state and decline in its excited state. And 4. The excited state and natural state are clearly found only in the unit's mutuality.
Very nice. You read so nicely. So,
Yeah.
तो द्वंद्व के कहने के मूल में अंतर विरोध और बाह्य विरोध है ना। तो जो द्वंद्वात्मक भौतिकवाद में है उसमें कहा कि नेचर में जो एंटिटीज हैं, एक तो उनके अंदर भी विरोध चल रहा है और बाहर के भी विरोध, उनका विरोध चल रहा है ना। तो जैसे so there is an internal conflict and there is an internal contradiction and there is an external contradiction that is there in the matter itself. And they say that internal contradiction या अंतर विरोध जो है, it is the basis of its development, और external contradiction जो है वो अपने वैभव मतलब अपनी greatness, अपनी ताकत को demonstrate करने का आधार बताया गया। You know, if you look at it, I mean, presently what we are actually seeing, that actually is the understanding with which the present world is also demonstrating, that we are actually seeing that हर जगह जो है, we are actually seeing that demonstration of power is by actually is being shown through struggle, through wars, right? He says that the reality, when it was examined, then uske the facts are actually quite opposite. So here he says that he actually describes some four facts about what he has actually seen, that every unit is a whole अपने आप में संपूर्ण है, हर इकाई अपने आप में अपने वातावरण के साथ में संपूर्ण है. Like for example, a tree along with its environment is complete in itself, right? And प्रत्येक एक अपने त्व सहित व्यवस्था है और समग्र व्यवस्था में भागीदार है. That each unit is orderliness with its ness and participates in overall orderliness. So there is no duality or struggle. Instead, there is harmony and participation in overall harmony. Then second is thing that there is something called a natural state, या स्वभाव गति. So when a unit is actually placed in its natural state or स्वभाव गति, then it actually moves towards development. And when it is placed in its आवेशित गति, in its excited state, then it moves towards decline. And he says that this आवेश और स्वभाव जो है वो एक दूसरे के परस्परता में ही होता है. यानी कि कोई भी इकाई का विकास होगा तो वो भी दूसरे इकाई के साथ होगा, और उसका ह्रास होगा तो वो भी दूसरी इकाई के साथ में होगा. दैट मीन्स अ यूनिट विल डेवलप टू इट्स नेक्स्ट स्टेट ओनली इन द when it is with other units which are conducive to it. And when it declines, then will also be due to its uh, other units. So it's not that a unit can develop or decline in isolation. The unit actually develops or decline, its excitedness or its natural state actually happens in its mutuality only. So, so we see that, like for example, a child develops when it finds the right environment, like as we will see in the uh, coming lines also. A, a plant actually grows when it actually finds the right environment. A child actually develops when it finds the right nourishment, right nourishment for their body as well as their mind. So that is how basically these four principles have been placed. These four principles, in a way, challenge the duality theories. So, any observations on this? नीरू दीदी?
नमस्ते भैया। अभी यहाँ पर जो बात हो रही थी द आवेशित गति, so how do we see this aveshit gati in existence, whereas we're talking about coexistence and everything in the existence is in the swabhav gati? So the example you gave of a child that we can see, and the example you gave of a plant, that also I think is understandable. थोड़ा और explain कर दें उसको. और बाकी the units in the existence, how do we see them in this aveshit gati, and how does that happen? What is the main reason for that? मानव का हस्तक्षेप ही है सिर्फ the reason for this aveshit gati.
That seems to be the argument that Babaji gives, that in the rest of the nature is there in its natural state only, स्वभाव गति में ही है ना.
Right.
और उसमें जो विरचना भी हो रही है उसको हम आवेशित नहीं कह सकते. मतलब इट्स नॉट
That
दैट
is also स्वभाव गति. बिल्कुल.
decomposing, then it is not in its natural state. It is natural for a tree to die after a stage. It is natural for a lion to hunt. Like it is not in the state of आवेश, right?
Right.
तो शेर जो है वो ऐसा नहीं है कि
वो आवेश में नहीं है.
शेर पे
That
गुस्सा
is
हो रहा है, ऐसा नहीं
right. स्वभाव
है.
गति.
सो उसका वो स्वभाव गति में है. इट्स नेचर. right?
That means the only thing is the interference of the humankind.
Yeah, it's a human interference that basically results in the state of excitement, state of avesh in the rest of the nature also, and that becomes the cause of further destruction. Like for example, if suppose uh, an extreme example that, for example, a nuclear bomb is exploded, right? And that causes further destruction of basically all the nature around, right? So the cause of that was human being, but then after that, that sets up the chain reaction of decline. So the excitement actually basically results. Shilpa Didi?
या भैया सो आई हैव नॉट बीन एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस कि द्वंद्व का मतलब जो अंतर विरोध और बाह्य विरोध है, ये लाइक हम किसकी बात कर रहे हैं, मतलब कि ये जीवन की बात कर रहे हैं, या आई मीन व्हाट आर वी टॉकिंग अबाउट, आई हैव नॉट अंडरस्टूड लाइक, और दिस इज इन द फिजिकल वर्ल्ड एंड देन हाउ डज वन लुक एट इट, अंतर विरोध एंड बाह्य विरोध इन नेचर, लाइक व्हाट इज इट एग्जैक्टली, इफ यू कैन एक्सप्लेन
The
फर्स्ट.
the duality theories actually say that even in matter there is an internal struggle. There is duality. There is internal contradiction within matter itself. And in humans, it basically manifests in the form of class struggle, right? So that is how it has been, the ideas that Frederick and Engels, which was further developed by Karl Marx, was presented. That duality is essentially there in the nature. What Babaji is saying is that duality is not essentially in the nature. Each unit is a whole with its environment.
So,
It
Bhaiya, what
is
would be an example to understand this? Like in nature, how is it? How can we see this internal conflict and external conflict?
so he's saying that reality is not that that is not Babaji's presentation, internal and external
No,
conflict.
no, not Babaji. I'm talking about the other people who gave this explanation. So, how do they see it in nature? Like, what is internal conflict and what is external conflict? How do they see it? I mean,
They
if you
say
can give an
that
example.
actually external conflict. They say that humans actually have this internal conflict, and it is only through when the conflict is there only do we develop to the next stage. So it is, they say that is a good thing that we have a conflict, because conflict leads to a further development. So there is a thesis and then its antithesis comes, then its synthesis comes, and that becomes a thesis, and then its further it gets challenged. So they say that development actually happens through contradictions, and that actually they say that they demonstrate that world में ऐसे positive और negative सम और विषम ही है ना. There are actually positive and negative forces in the world, and that is how this world is actually operating. What Babaji is saying is that apart from Sam and Visham, the negative and positive forces, the constructive and destructive forces, the generative and degenerative forces, there is a mediative force also, which actually is the defining force, right? So that is the basic presentation over here. The duality theory seems to be saying that there are actually two aspects to this. These are at mutually conflicting. One actually establishes itself, and again the contradiction happens, and that is how basically development or evolution actually happens. That is the theory that they give. I can share some of the basic concepts of this as I mean, it can easily be seen in the on the net also, how they are actually seeing conflict in the nature, right?
Okay,
So
got
they
it.
say that even in the atom there is actually a conflict. Like there is a conflict between nucleus and the orbital atoms, orbiting particles. There is a conflict between atoms and atoms. right? And there is conflict. There is a struggle in the species for survival, and that is how they actually they develop some more stronger traits, right? And that is how basically evolution happens, right? So that is a theory of duality that has been given. What Babaji is saying is that actually development does not happen through struggle. He says that each unit is a whole with its environment, and it is in orderliness and it's participant in the overall orderliness. Then the third principle is that each unit moves towards development in its natural state. So there is something called a natural state, which is its essential nature, and decline in its when it deviates from its natural state. And then we say that it is in the togetherness, in the mutuality, that we actually identify the excited and the natural states. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, भैया.
जी. So how are we with respect to time, भैया?
It's actually time भैया 9:02 now.
ठीक है, तो हम लोग यहाँ से नेक्स्ट मीटिंग में करेंगे. If anybody wants to say any observation how we are going, anything that we need to change.
No, I really enjoyed today's session, Bhaiya. Like there were a lot of points you added to explain the paragraphs, which were very interesting. So yeah, thank you.
थैंक यू मेरी सभी लोगों का पार्टिसिपेशन से
I've also,
actually helps.
yeah, I've also enjoyed. I've been very captivated the whole time, and I think part is your sharing, and part is what we're reading, and both together going very nicely.
Thanks, Spencer. Always pleasure to hear you.
Yeah, thank you for me too. I was, for the first time, I can say I was getting the depth of what we were reading. Normally, I shy away from reading because I feel it's too many words. But you're helping. I could see the meaning of those words through your presentations, and yeah, I think more questions from different people would be would be good.
Ji, yeah.
I feel conscious of asking all the time, so after a point, I shut up because.
No, please participate, and I would
Absolutely fine.
encourage everybody to speak up. Yeah.
And your questions are good for everyone, you know. Some people might not have that question or also are shy. So, you know, then like your questions are very helpful.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
when you ask something, we feel, oh, like, yeah, this was even my question. So we may not be able to put it into words, but since you're doing it, please don't shy from it, Didi.
Okay. Okay.
And Babaji used to say that आपको धूम मचाना है, right, Roinu दीदी?
I know. I claimed, and then he would always ask me, and I said, "Abhi Delhi dur hai." Yeah.
Thank you so
Okay.
much, Rakesh.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you, everyone.
Bye.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Goodbye.
Namaste.
Bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Namaste. Thank you so much.
नमस्ते नमस्ते